good evening, and welcome to episode 112 of The Other Side of the Ball. Double A here with you, and hopefully, momentarily, I will be joined by the panel as Chris starts to make his way in. Welcome, Chris. How are you?
What's up, man?
Soon to be joined by another cast of others here. Now, before, as Pierre comes in lurking, says, I'll be lurking while making pizza dough, but howdy. And howdy to you, Pierre. Now, you see the topic of the headline.
Well, that's
That's
an
what we're going to be
interesting
talking about
piece.
today. But it is. But before we get into that, real quickly, um, unfortunately, we'll have to start this program with some sad news to report as tragedy unfortunately has stricken the A7FL family not once but twice as Corey Hammond comes in and joins us. Um, this is coming straight from the Cincinnati page of the A7FL a day ago as former player for the Columbus Explorers, Jordan Ash, passes away. Um, to which I like to thank Brent Summers and Jordan Davidson for responding back to me as I reached out to them to try and get some more information. Jordan Ash wore number 77. He played for the Columbus Explorers, and Brent informed me that he was going to play for the QC Crush this season, and also led the Columbus Explorers in sacks this past season. But tragedy, he passed away. So we like to hear from the other side of the ball. We'd like to send our condolences and prayers to his teammates, to those who he played against, and to those that knew him, and also to his family as they deal with this tragic loss, as they grieve. Certainly, never a uh, it's never easy to deal with things like these, but certainly we here at the other side of the ball definitely want to pay our tributes and give our respects and our prayers and condolences and uplifting good vibes to the family of Jordan Ash and to the Midwest Division as a whole. Again, this was reported yesterday by the A7FL Cincinnati page. Jordan Ash, who wore number 77 for the Columbus Explorers, has passed away. Certainly, our prayers and thoughts with them. As once again, we will bring back in Corey Hammond to the stage as he tries to adjust his headset. Um, in addition to that, also, unfortunately, tragedy has struck the Las Vegas division as Robert Paul, better known to all of us as Bobby Solis, who was the general manager of the Las Vegas Alienators that made their debut last season in the Fall Brawl. He was a multiple guest on the show many times, of course, brought in the alien suit. Of course, his car was well decorated with the Alienators paraphernalia, and very good friends with Nick Blaze. Um, he passed away back on the 12th of November. I reached out to Blaze and said if he wanted to come on and talk about his friend, but obviously, given the emotional circumstances, totally understandable. As Pierre comments and says that he had just moved to Airbnb down the street from Bobby when he heard the news, which again, because of Bobby and bringing in the Alienators this past fall brawl, we got to know about the talents that was Jaden Webb and Devontae Moncrief. So certainly, prayers to Bobby's family and friends, and certainly to the Alienators organization. We know the Alienators were going to return for the Winter War. We don't know if that's going to happen now, but we here at the other side of the ball and across the ASNFL want to send our thoughts and prayers and condolences not only to Jordan Ash, but also Robert Paul, aka Bobby Solis, and the tragedy um, of their loss. So, not a good way to start the show. We will get back into the regular shenanigans, but gentlemen, just your thoughts on this unfortunate situation surrounding our league.
Well,
Well, I didn't know. Oh yeah, you go first, Chris. Because
yeah, Bobby's a tough one. Knowing him, and I'm not going to say, yeah, anybody who passes away is not tough, especially when they play in this league. Or in Bobby's case, was a coach and an owner. Um, I know that he had some health issues, but still, it's a tough pill to swallow knowing that he's gone. Um, it'll be a bittersweet winter war this year without him. Without him on the sidelines, without his little bit of antics. I mean, they were always fun loving, and he never was out there to hurt anybody. So it's going to be a little bit hits a little bit different, and it's going to be a little different calling games knowing that our friend is gone. So I agree with you. Prayers to his family of both these men, and it's like I said, it's a tough pill to swallow.
yeah, and I didn't know him personally, but what I will say is that in a league where we're rapidly growing, so the family is pretty big. So when you have that many family members, unfortunately, this does happen. This falls in line with another coach that we've mentioned multiple times on both of our shows that cover the A7FL, as well as a couple of players from the Northeast, which obviously we've been playing longer to have elder players, but it's always sad to lose somebody that's part of your family, and all the hearts of the A7FL family go out to the family and loved ones.
Well said by both of you gentlemen, and just to pin back what Pierre just said, I really do hope the Alienators come back for the Winter War and they do carry on Bobby's legacy, because I know this was something Bobby was very passionate about, and I know, like I said, Nick Blaze, who's a very good friend with him, wrote a very touching tribute on his personal Facebook page. Definitely a tearjerker, and I'm hoping that the Alienators do continue and they dedicate the Winter War to him and his memory, because, like I said, he was very passionate about bringing the Alienators into the A7. And, I mean, the Alienators made a good name for themselves last year in the Fall Brawl, made the playoffs, gave the Insomniacs a heck of a fight in the playoff round. And, again, Pierre commenting and saying, the memories I have of that dude so far back when he was a wild one, but he was still a cool and living dude at the end of the day. And Brent Smothers from the Midwest chiming in. Again, thank you, Brent, for giving me the info, and hope you guys in that region are doing well, dealing with the loss. And another comment from C4Or. Much love from X-Town Orange coach owner, now living in Phoenix, Arizona. Appreciate you coming on and giving some comments. Also, thanks to Jordan Davidson for also reaching out and giving me some info, in addition to Mr. Smothers for giving me some info and some insight about Mr. Ash. Just real tragic stuff. But as Chris has said so many times on this show, that football is a brotherhood. Football is a community, and the football community, certainly in the A7FL, will come together and put comfort around those that need it, because it is a loss for this entire league. And thank you again to Brent for chiming in and commenting. But this particular show is going to be very controversial per se, because it is, and Pierre's very understandable, as he says, I am over here tearing up at work. It is hard to hear that any of these guys are moved on, but I know they're in a good place. Amen to that. This show is going to be a little controversial because it is very tough to try to gather and try to pick a top 7 for the top 7 athletes.
No, it's not. We do it every week, like on the seat of our pants in a Facebook message group where everyone's just like, yeah, we'll go with that. And maybe we'll have some fan feedback this time that we could maybe even be as flexible as I was with the wide receiver number 7 position. But
Well, now,
You know,
now, if I read this correctly, Corey. So if I've read this correctly, so the rule is that if you already made a list, a previous list, that you were not eligible to make this now. Is that the rule?
Yeah, we're not
Well,
doubling. We're not doubling in any of
Okay.
the categories.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
what it comes
Well,
down to. If not, you can't have a top 50, right? Because there's going to be guys that repeat in those categories.
So I asked that for fans that are watching. If you mention where so and so, if they made a previous list of the last few shows that we've done, if they made a list, unfortunately-
or presumably will make a list that has yet to come.
yes,
And if you're not familiar with the lists, you can go to YouTube /other side of the ball and catch up on these lists. And then you will feel better about the guy that you are in the comments, which you should still go into the comments, by the way, complaining about. But I think there is no hard and fast rule, especially for this athletes. But I will introduce, and the way Nevada voted recently, I'm sure there's a lot of words that you guys can't read, spell, or comprehend. So for vocabulary's sake, redundancy, right? So look that up. Redundancy means over and over again for no reason. Yes, is Daniel Lyons a great athlete? Is RTC a great athlete? Are the other guys on your team, because you're Vegas guys potentially, and you will be complaining about guys?
Question. When did you get a haircut?
Well, before last week's show, so not maybe.
Oh,
I don't know.
I'm sorry. I feel bad now. I'm sorry.
Well, I think it
I wasn't trying
doesn't
to be
matter
light.
as much.
True,
But I will say this.
It looks good.
I know. I appreciate it, and you can tell the people that are very judgmental by what they notice, because a lot of people will comment on the exactly. There's James. Who cares? And that's what we like to hear. And shout outs to James, who actually was an honorable mention for athletes. He's just not an active player. Now, Dub, I feel like to start this list off, we should at least invoke some type of Derek Duncan-esque thing, because the only reason that I would ever include somebody that has been included on so many hypothetical lists and awards and, GM of the year, he's never presumably had that position. The running joke on these top sevens. Well, you're missing the H there, buddy. and I think it's math. I think he's a mathlete, because he's over there doing the the physics on how to get Juice to throw a spiral, which thank God he figured it out just in time in that championship game, which was obviously a blowout, right, Coach James? But I think to start our list off, number seven athlete. No, it was a blowout. It was a huge,
1 point
the 17 seconds were the full dominance of the game, and it showed. Our number 7 guy is a guy that I think everybody's been trying. Exactly, James is getting it. Look, the guy Mitchell from the Indianapolis Octane, we have been talking about and kind of hovering around, and like, how do we include him on this list? Why should we include him on this list? Personally, I'll go behind the curtain a little bit. I don't want to include him on this list as things that I can be quoted saying in our chats. But we did it this time. I'll let you guys talk about it, because it would almost be facetious at this point for me to somehow praise a guy that I've been trashing as a joke over and over again.
Considering that we do have Brent Smothers in the chat, Brent, if you can just type in what you saw of James Butler from as I speak this, just chime in real quickly on what people don't know about James Butler from what they did not see on film. As he just says, James is really good. And then Coach JB from the Champions just said, because he is pretty good, just plays in the Midwest. So, that is always
That is to be fair to Coach James. That is something that always comes up in these conversations when we can really only gauge anyone's talent based on who they played, what teams they played, what type of, kind of style these teams are able to play. He does pop off the screen in the games, and I will also throw some shade here, against the bottom teams in his division. So he is the guy that I think they're looking to kind of focus on, but he does play all the positions. You got to give him credit for being an Iron Man. He does bring an energy to the game. James Mitchell is a high motor, yeah, and he's a good person. So, I mean, of all of the places that we would maybe put a guy like him, who's a rookie, B, bye Chris, we'll see you in a second. C, he's on a team that was also an expansion rookie team. I think he deserves credit. The thing is that, and why I have so much pushback on it is the amount of credit that the Indianapolis organization was looking to give all three of those guys was an incredulous amount of credit for a team that didn't make the playoffs, got expansion wins. Let's be honest, most expansion teams don't. The Gold and Omegas, which don't exist anymore, are still looking for that first one. Shout outs to Volcanoes. They took care of business as well in their rookie season. But I do think that just taking aside the jokes, taking aside the shade, you put on the film, he does make plays at a rate that he should be at least considered a player to watch out for. And I would, Brett, tag him, because what I've heard from another insider in your division, Dale Hathaway, is that he may or may not even play next year. So just tell him if it motivates him, and clip this. And Chris, I think you'll agree. Brett, if he's leaning, well, here's the punchline. Brett, if he's one of those guys that responds well to a challenge, based on what I've seen, he fucking sucks. So then just clip that, send it to him. I'll be the bad guy. And then if he's more of the coddle, like, your guys, you guys that are in the younger generation, guys that need coddling and constant attention. You know what? I really thought he was a really good player, and I can't wait to see what he can do next year. So now it's on you, Brent. You do the YouTube clippage nonsense, whatever letter you guys are thing. Send it to him. Whatever works better for him. I'd like to see him come back. So if he's responded to the criticism, send that. If he needs the coddling, you could show him the nice version. He moved back home to the call. Uh-oh. Anyway, so that is number 777.
Now, what new team is out there in the East Coast, Corey? Do we know about? There's a new team coming.
I will say this. There needs to be a So he's going to be with that. That'll be interesting. So East is a whole seaboard. So when people say the East,
the north, the northeast area.
There is a Virginia team that's coming out, and according to my reports from Keith Salmons, who to some of you is RTU, that's right, not C. Very, very different career paths and players. One is media for sure. One is a potential, courage mask. And if you don't know what that is, that's a goat. But according to Keith Salmons, that the Virginia team is shaping out to be a decent team. So it'll be interesting to see him in division. And Brent, don't then influence him to be against me and intercepting me because I'm talking trash. I will make sure I can send him a personal message so it's earned. So
number 7.
So moving on to number 6. I don't know. I don't even know his full name.
Number 7. Now we're up to number 6 there, Bubba.
No, yeah, I was wrapping up number 7 with the back end number 7. Now
number 6.
6. You got to do 4 6s. You can't just leave it on 3. So you guys are going to have to be the guys for this guy, because I will be honest. Him and his entire fucking family of all of the Evers, right? And like his second cousin and his aunt are all on the same team with him. So I can't distinguish.
I swear it's his 7 brothers.
Seven of them. Yes.
7 brothers, and
His dad sounds like he's been put in
four of
work
them
like
play
myself.
in the league.
Yes. But specifically, who we're talking about at number 6 is the very versatile member of the Ramsey brothers of the Ace NFL. We're talking about number 45, Keith Ramsey of Over the Top. He plays everywhere. Anything OTT asks them to do, he does. He's had some memorable 3-on-1 returns for touchdowns. Definitely can go sideline to sideline, and definitely
Almost, I will say his returns are almost as good as his little brother's one return.
Oh, JoJo's.
JoJo's return was friggin' incredible.
Yeah,
It
so
shouldn't
going
have
behind.
It shouldn't have been a return for a touchdown. It should have been down at like the 2-yard line.
Well, consider. Well, you know what? You're just gonna make me play the clip, Chris. We're just
Yeah.
gonna play the. We're just gonna play the clip right. Here's what
Wait,
Chris is
you're
talking.
gonna play the clip of the brother of the guy that we just mentioned.
You have to understand why,
You gotta
Corey.
understand
All right,
what's
listen,
going on.
I'm
Corey.
down with it, but this seems to me like a level of shade that even I don't go to.
No,
But go ahead.
no.
Show the little
There's
brother
no
the guy we
shade.
picked.
There's no shade.
Yeah,
Yeah, so just hang him with it. Yep. Or throw it straight up in the air.
Super high.
Like that. Into the night.
Oh!
Boy.
Oh!
my goodness! JoJo Ramsey, he
Is
is
gone. Wow.
Babe.
Oh, that one. Okay,
That-
so let
Oh,
me
that
break down that clip. So why did you guys sound like you noticed that it was an obvious touchdown when he reached the 45? I think like once he got to like the 19, the O's should have started because you were like, oh.
Because
Wait,
you're not
45.
okay.
Oh!
Because if you're literally throwing the ball from inside the 40,
Yeah, that's-
there's no way you should not pin him down deep in his own territory and make them drive 99 yards.
Not to mention he muffed the damn the throw.
Those are listen. I've seen more. Like I think it's a higher percentage of, and you know, whenever we are able to use this word and not get censored by YouTube, whenever the 3-on-1 is muffed, there's a higher percentage that you're gonna lose contain on your lane because you're gonna go for the ball. So
Well, that's
it's
exactly what
funny.
happened to the outside contain on his left side. Was that we watched the ball bounce, and the
Right.
guy missed it as he ran by. He could have picked it up and ran it in for the touchdown. He missed
What-
it. And
what I
Ramsey
think
grabbed it,
happened-
and I'm like, dude, is this really happening?
Well,
took
what
a
I think
half
happened
to
as
really
somebody that calls
understand
games,
this was happening.
it seemed like you guys were still trying to figure out, wait, did he actually get it? Is he running?
Yes.
So that's the first half, right? And then the second half, there's not much to really say. He's obviously fast enough to not get hawked in that spot. Do the young kids still say hawked when they get chased down? Whatever, never mind.
Some do, yes.
Walk
Sure.
down.
But-
I'm
but-
old, so just roast me in the comments. That's what the comments
but-
are for. It's for roast going on. But let me just finish. So the last half, it's obviously him running. Let me just say this though. That's either the most awkwardly like that's the most awkward like angle or the zestiest wave behind, because I think what happened, and not to put too much on him, I think that he was as surprised as anybody else, so he just didn't know what to do with his body. That's why he looked so
think he
awkward
was
waving.
too. I think
But
he
that-
was too, because once he saw the outside contain crash in and go after the ball, if you can, Dub, I don't know if you can replay it, and I don't think that we'll be able to see it. We could see it from the side.
No, do it again. Do it
His
again.
Face change.
Yeah.
His face changes.
I
Also,
promise-
his posture.
Watch when he muffs the punt or the throw off, and watch when he grabs it. His
and I promise, fans, we will get back to talking about his brother, Keith Ramsey. I promise. But one more time. Here we
fuck
go.
him.
Yeah, so
Yes.
just hang him with it. Yep. Or throw it straight up in the
Super
air.
high.
Like that. Into the night.
Oh!
Boy.
Oh!
my goodness! JoJo Ramsey, he
Is
is
gone. Wow. Babe.
Recovers on the dive into the end zone. Once again, an athlete. Maybe what the people that voted for Trump would call an alpha male. I don't know, whatever.
What's
But
up, Jordan?
that's my guy. Listen, Jordan Davidson. Don't ever put your name in like that, because then I'll get back into the name that I call you. But as astute of an
What name
A7FL
do you
watcher,
call him other than Vanilla Wafer?
Milk. He is not
Leche.
vanilla. He is not Vic. No, you just happen to be white and spoiled quickly, left outside. Milk. Anyway, no, Jordan, you roast me back. You
So
got me
vanilla
back
milk?
last week. No, not vanilla milk. Vanilla milk is actually probably, more whatever. It honestly,
But back to
I
Keith,
had other ones last year. but I don't want to go that far.
back to Keith Ramsey, who is
Okay, let's talk about the
Yeah.
guy who actually made it.
Yes.
Let's give him the flowers.
Not the guy that scored a touchdown and looked
no,
like
not
he was
not
on
not his brother JoJo. We're
Not his
talking
little
about
brother. Not his
not,
little brother.
we're
We're talking about him.
Keith. But no, Keith is
one of the
a very
hosts of Queer Eye for the Straight Guy talking like, look it, I just scored.
no,
It
but
was weird.
Keith.
It was
No,
awkward.
but Keith is
You
a
got to do
main.
better. You got to
Keith
do
is
better
a
if you're gonna
main-
wave. If
Keith
you're gonna
is a main-
troll, go ahead with Keith. Go ahead.
Keith is a main cog on the on over the top. He plays solid sideline. Him and his brother make a very tandem duo playing linebacker. But like I said, he likes to play everywhere on the field, and like most Ramseys, a
Safety.
very, very, very high motor. The man goes out on every play, and definitely somebody that you definitely want to have on your team if you need a player. Of course,
See,
that
the
is
thing about
Keith
it is,
Ramsey.
you got to understand that he's the one that got absolutely trucked by Sal, and
Yes,
still made the tackle.
yes, yes.
Still made the tackle.
He did not make
He
a business.
absolutely
He
got
did not
the
make a
dog
business
shit knocked
decision.
out of him and still made the tackle. That's what I'm saying with this kid. Keith is one of those players.
Put up
That
Jordan.
if-
Yeah, you're the man, man. Yeah,
Cookies
listen.
and milk. There you go. But you ain't cookies. Anyway, he's one of those players that if you want to have an athletic player on your squad, where you could say, okay, dude, I need you to go play corner. He'll go play corner. I need you to play linebacker. He's going to go play linebacker. I need you to play wide receiver. He's going to go play wide receiver. And the fact is, he's going to excel at all three positions. So it's not one of those. The only position I haven't seen him play, which I've heard he can play, is quarterback. I don't know if that's true or not,
Really?
but I've heard he can. I've heard it. I don't know if it's true or not. Somebody said, because we're talking, and I said, look, man, this kid could play all over the field. And he goes, oh, you should see him at quarterback. And I'm like, I don't
Was
know.
it himself or one of his
No,
brothers, or
somebody
was it
else.
someone completely random?
It was somebody else.
Well,
But
that's credible. That's credible. When the guy goes, I mean, when I say it, I barely, am effective at convincing people. But when somebody says it for themselves, it's something that's like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. There's another group of brothers, and one of the guys is really convinced. Anyway, I won't talk about
But
those.
he is.
Mickle
We've
guys.
got to give him what he's able to do, and like I
No,
said,
I think that's the definition of what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Now, I
Yeah,
will put this out there. Go ahead.
Athletic positions, and this kid can play
Well, and
multiple
he's not-
positions,
Yeah, exactly.
and
That's
he's
the
good
point.
at those multiple positions. It's not like
And-
you're plugging him in and you're like, he's a liability. He's not. And we've watched him play corner, we've watched him play linebacker, and he has excelled at both. And so I can't say anything negative about this kid. I just think that it seems like all him and all his brothers are just athletes. Period. Dub, what would you? Do
I
you agree?
really can't-
Disagree?
I really can't add anything else to that because I really can't add anything else to that because the Ramseys are just everywhere. I mean, we always
Funny you can't add anything to it. You just added it twice.
well, go figure. But I mean, there you can go back to many of our broadcasts, and I don't know how many times me and Chris have said, "Well, there was a Ramsey involved on that play." Didn't matter if it was 45, didn't matter if it was 97, didn't matter if it was 23. We were always calling a Ramsey somehow,
Seems like
somewhere,
every play.
every play when OTT is playing.
And
which is-
that's that superior genetics. If you got 7 A7FL guys that are contributing, you're doing something right as
But not-
a parentage
but
unit.
not to mention, even more than that, we had them both on the show. Just very humble, decent young man. Definitely all about family,
dude,
and just
as
they're just a joy to
as a
watch.
father, yeah, and as a father, watching these two young men talk to us, the respect, the how humble they were, just the words that they were speaking, and how they reacted around us. As a father, I would two young men like that would make me very proud to be my sons. I don't have any
There's
boys.
five,
I've got all
there's
girls,
5 more.
but
There's 5 more.
it's just they are raised in a very solid family. You could tell that, and they definitely have a love for one another. And I think that it is almost a challenge for them to get one another out on the football field. And what I mean by that is once they're out there, they challenge each other. And it is incredible because, when you're growing up, and I grew up with my siblings and we fought a lot. There was a lot of fighting going on in the house, and we had our problems and whatnot. All love, but still, when you see these guys and you saw like JoJo take that house that one throw off, or when you saw Keith house the throw off, it was almost to the point of them coming out to congratulate one another, but also to say, get your ass out there and do it again.
Or
So
I'm a
it's-
one up
it's-
you. Hey, good
Yeah.
job, but I'm better
Yeah.
than you. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
it's the natural
That
competitiveness
is
of
exactly
brothers.
what it
Yeah.
is.
And
Yeah,
now
that's
what I would
exactly what
say,
it is. It's
what
great
I-
to see on the field.
and you could see all of those guys because it's funny. You say Ramsey, and then these guys are making all kinds of types of plays, and I think that he's really the exact definition of the guys that we were trying to fill this list out with. Is the guy that you can't really pigeonhole into like one word to describe what he's able to do for his team. Now, I will kind of throw a wrench in here. The next 5 names are among the best just players that any guy on any team would want to play with moving up here. So, contrast with a question for you guys, because I know you might not be as familiar with, but one of these guys you are. 2 guys on BIC, I think, were considered for this list that were left off. One of them you guys may not know as well is the probably the best pound for pound player in our league, the do everything unselfish Trey Cohen for BIC, who you'll see on kickoffs, kick coverage, corner, wide receiver. I've seen him blitz out of the nickel.
What number was he, Corey?
He's
What's
15.
15. Okay.
And he's the smaller guy that a lot of times on the 3-on-1 guys will go after him. And even though a lot of times those guys will outsize him, sometimes maybe out, to quote a Rob thing, huss him, he still makes the play. By the way, he's not the one that missed the tackle on Danye at the end. Secondly, and this is a side note, Jordan Davidson, Cookies and Milk, officially is now CAM, which is the acronym for Cookies and Milk. So he just saved himself from me ever calling him Milk ever again. That's my guy, Cam. And no, not Newton. Although Fig Newton is up for debate because that is a cookie, according to some weird people. It's got fruit in it. It's more of a cake. But Trey Cohen of BIC, maybe a guy that you guys know a little bit more familiar or are more familiar with, is another guy that was an athlete. And there's a certain Bjorn Skarsgård that was completely against this making our list. And that's a former Vegas guy, Trey Robinson, who had a pick 6 last year, a rushing touchdown, a receiving touchdown, and threw multiple 2-point conversion passes.
The God's
Wait,
to
who's
convert
against
it for
my son
BIC.
being on this list?
your son.
Some guy named
he said,
Bjorn.
who's against my son being on this list?
That would be the Asgardian.
Oh, okay.
Bjorn Skarsgård.
Gotcha. Okay. I was curious.
You guys call him some weird version of a American Irish name. I don't know what's it called. What do you guys call him? You call him like Keith.
Scott?
Oh, Scott McCorkle. Yeah, that's not his fucking name. He's a Viking of Norse lore, Bjorn Skarsgård. But anyway,
From Asgard.
how do you think Ramsey who you guys are a little bit more familiar with, matches up just kind of player wise. We're not changing the list. I'm not shuffling anything around. Two guys that we saw in the Northeast week in, week out for BIC in Trey Cohen, who, listen, you guys aren't familiar with him. We could throw it out because it's not fun conversation, but a guy you guys are familiar with in Trey Robinson. As it relates to his on-field production in the 2024 season.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't have had a problem with Trey being on this list because I do think he is an athlete. I
Without
think
question.
that he is one of the guys that, you know, I'm kind of how can I put it? When he left Vegas, a lot of people were like upset with him. My thing was, hey, dude, go do you.
Yeah.
You know,
But
you got to
if
take care of the family. You got to take care of what you got going on. And if he was on this list, I'd have no problem with it whatsoever because I think he is an athlete. I watched this young man do his thing in a championship game.
In the fall for the Pit Bosses. Yep.
Yeah, and I
One of
watched
the
him
best quarterback
and-
performances recently in our league.
that I saw. Yeah, I mean, here's a guy that literally fumbled the ball, bounced in front of him, picked it up, and kept running. I mean,
that was
this-
a crossover.
this is something that you see from time to time, but is would I consider him an athlete? Hell yeah. Would I consider him on this that he should be on this list? Yes.
Personally,
Hold on, Corey. Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead. My bad.
This is my personal opinion, and this is me being a homer for him because I've seen what he's been able to do in the past. So, am I being a little bit biased because of what I've seen him do in the past? Yes. And can we say what he did in 2024 would bring him up to the level to be on this list? I don't know. There might be some question marks on that, but it still doesn't change the fact that, yes, I would consider him to be part of this list.
I think the only thing that you can say about Trey is that the joining the Insomniacs thing, when he's quoted on both the 3-on-1 podcast and the other side of the ball saying that he didn't want to join a top team. He wanted to do stuff with himself. That's why he was originally on the Pit Bosses instead of the Force year one in this division. And then you saw him win the championship with the Insomniacs, make the championship with BIC.
What's up, Corey?
What's up, CP3?
What's up, C?
Who, listen, unfortunately, he gets put on these lists sometimes because he plays the end for some reason. But I also threw CP3 a touchdown pass, but that's a pure quarterback. So that's number 6. And we talked about his brother. We talked about guys from older division, other divisions. Ramsey, nice. Anyway,
Number 5.
now this guy I think could make – first of all, he has made another list, which was our only caveat on list. But I think he could make the list as a pure running back. Now, the thing about, in my opinion, this guy, he's more of that slot, like a Percy Harvin type of utility offensive weapon. And on his own team, there is a guy that I would say is more of the traditional running back, even though I think statistically it was this guy that led the team in rushing. But number 5 on our list is my comeback player of the year, and it's Tierre Edwards, Lavish T, Lord Tenya Newsaway, the touchdown Hashira.
Bonnet Gang.
Sure, that too. The bonnet, the silky silver bonnet is
Yes.
way better than the Northeast bonnets that we see that are branded. And since it's a Fucci or a Stewie V, I don't know which one to say for my brethren from the U. But Lavish T to me is kind of the linchpin. Because if there's a go-to guy on sick, it's Darren Palmer. If there's the most valuable player, it's their quarterback, Jeremy Geary. But what makes this team able to really take advantage of that massive matchup differential, especially when they're in a position where they have to beat a team like the Insomniacs. And Chris says it all the time. I would love to see sick against some of the other top teams. But when Lavish T is that matchup that you're trying to figure out, and he's either starting in the backfield and motioning out, or he's running his route from the backfield, or he's getting a misdirection handoff with some space with his speed. There's not very many guys in this league that run with as much strength and speed as Lavish, because I think he's a very similar guy in his balance and overall strength to Ashanti Worthy. Now, I think Ashanti Worthy has a little bit more wiggle to his open field, but Matt Ryan, my partner in the booth, said it best in that game we were mentioning earlier where Trey Robinson was the quarterback for that Pit Boss Kryptonite Championship, in which Lavish, I think, had 3 or 4 3-on-1 returns for touchdowns.
I think it was 3.
Some of those are him just running full speed past people because nobody wants – no, those rumors were untrue. Nobody wants any business tackling Lavish T one-on-one with him running full speed on a 3-on-1 especially.
And Corey, keep in mind, Lavish put on weight. And when I say this, he put on – he bulked up a little bit after his injury.
Yeah,
and put on some weight and looked really good when we had him in the studio before. And this kid is somebody that I respect greatly. And the reason why I respect Lavish as much as I do is because of he's definitely and when I say this, it's weird because you've got guys on sick that are just so humble. Him, Darren, and a few of the other guys. Well, a lot of the other guys are very humble players. And when you talk to Lavish, he's a quiet person. He's not loud. He's very respectful. He is one of those kids that you root for. And when he was injured, I think I could say it for all of us. It hurt all of us because you don't like to see bad things happen to good people, and he's good people. Probably one of the best people that I know in the league. This kid will give you the shirt off his back. I mean, he is a really good individual, and it's good to see him back out here doing what he's doing. And I can't speak enough on him. When you get to know some of these players, there's some guys that you root for naturally, and you might sound like a little bit of a homer because of how you call their games, because you respect them because of the respect that they have. And then there's guys out there that you're just like, yeah, whatever, because of the way they are when you talk to them on the sidelines or whatever. But Lavish is one of those dudes that is an athlete first in my mind. And the reason why I say that is because he's another guy that's a plug and play. Put him where you want him. He's going to excel whatever,
especially
you
on
want
offense. I bet you he could play defense. I don't see him like shying away from it. But I think the key with Lavish is that when your best cover guy in the pass game has to cover Darren Palmer, because if you're not doing that, you're just bad at managing a team. Then what you have to do is put the other more traditional corner type guy on whoever the other receiver is, whether it's Betts or Lualamana or
James Mitchell was the first one we mentioned. Are you even listening, Cam?
He came in late.
Okay. All right. I'll give
and my guy Cam is struggling on some of these names. That Cizon was understandable, but courage is just the word courage. And again, Ohio, election-wise, probably needs to go back to school again for their choice, but we can get into that another time and maybe on another channel that's more directed to that scope. Love you, Jordan. Keep coming with the comments and correct me when I'm wrong. I'm sure it'll happen. But with Lavish, the thing that he does is he's the guy that in a 7-on-7 league, which is one of the reasons why I think that the A7FL is one of the best leagues to watch, especially good offenses. When you can motion him to one side or the other, you can force him on either a safety or a linebacker guy, and that mismatch is absolutely insane. Then pair the fact that if you're handing him the ball with his speed, acceleration, and strength, you have to almost – well, Kentucky I don't think usually does well with any of those measurables, my friend, either. And not to disrespect anybody, but we all know that Kentucky's the center for, we'll say, academic excellence. Look no further than their basketball team. I mean their state college university. Stop getting me sidetracked. We're talking about Lavish T. Lavish T is an amazing athlete, and because he's such a great runner as well as a pass receiver, you're almost forced to have that linebackery type of guy in when he lines up in the backfield, and then when he motions out either into the slot or to the weak side when Sick has the twins. Now who's covering him? A guy that's not qualified to do so. So Lavish T, I think, is easily number 5 on my list, especially based on just the general consensus of the way that he's able to affect the game. But when you look at his stats, he was not somebody that you could pigeonhole in either the running back list, the wide receiver list. He did make our return list, but he also is
Number 5.
on our A7FL 2024 Athletes of the Year.
I'll just say it like this. He's the heartbeat of Sick Witted, because when he went down, you saw their body language. You saw just their spirit just come out of them when he got hurt. And it showed when they played against the Insomniacs
In the fall championship.
in the fall. You saw it.
Well,
it hurt their
and
spirit.
the playoffs last year, but the fall championship he was playing, but he was still recovering. I don't think shows how deep the wide receivers. Well, listen, we talked about the wide receivers last week. Check out episode 10. Dub, fill in the number there.
Probably
111.
1-0. Yeah, 111 was
Actually,
wide
no, it was
receivers.
110. I think that no, it was last week. So it was
No,
111.
last week was 111.
111.
Yeah, so
Number 5.
now
But
Go ahead.
also, just to pimp on what you said and what he did this past season, he still fully was not at 100%. Now he's coming back into being 100% for the Winter War if he's playing in the Winter War, but certainly in 2025, which, by the way, season starts March 16th, 2025 for season 11 of the A7FL. But him coming back, I expect to see
Yeah,
Lavish
it's
at
worth
peak. Right, I expect to see Lavish back at peak form in 2025, fully recovered from his injury.
And
I
I
know-
can't wait to see that, because I think this kid is going to blow the doors off everybody again with his abilities.
and now I know everybody knows what Austin 316 is, but with the A7FL, should it be Duncan 316 and then Derek's over there crushing beer cans on his head? I don't know. Tune in
It
March
might be
16th.
lavish 316. I mean,
Man,
he is a God-fearing man, so it might be lavish 316.
he's flashy. No, anyway, Demon Slayer reference. So that's number.
Number 5.
Listen, guys, we're talking about some heavy hitters now.
Yes.
And Jordan may have mentioned earlier one of the guys that's going to appear on this list. And since he's mentioned so many names, it's still a mystery. So I didn't
Okay.
say anything.
All right.
Look,
All
look,
right.
he mentioned like 7 guys.
And the
But I
Boston
don't-
Omegas.
Yeah.
And what?
Well, he
And the
he
Boston
said something
Omegas.
about he wanted to ask
yeah.
me a question about the Boston Omegas, and I completely ignored it. Dub brought it up, but again, I will ignore it because number 4 is one of my favorite. And you talk about being biased. I'm not even being biased at this point.
We don't
No.
need a. Come on, man.
I'm gonna listen. Love the comments. Keep them coming. Unless it breaks me and I break character, I'm not responding to anything. I'm
He
staying on
says
track.
he will not be breaking kayfabe. No kayfabe for Corey Hammond.
So Derek is the guy who mentioned this guy on one of our other lists because of the type of impact that he can have. Now, it wasn't necessarily felt this specific season, and recently his teams have been struggling. But when you just watch A7FL film, Chris, I hope you saw the clip. Number 4 on our list is a guy I call Groot. Now, the reason I call him Groot is because Megatron is kind of a football name that's already been used. It's cool. It's kind of, it kind of fits. But he's kind of like that as a human, and he's an enormous tree of a person with strength and superhuman powers to match. The other reason is because, oh my God, here comes double Corey Hammond. Nothing worse than that. Oh, there it goes. All right. The other reason I call him Groot is because my other weapon when I played alongside of him was a guy in Eddie Petio that I called Rocket. So I had Rocket and Groot. It was a nice little thing. Never caught on because most
Well,
of
unless
you
Rocket
voted
came
the
in
wrong way.
riding Groot, it wouldn't catch on.
Well, pause and no Diddy, but Dondre Haynes. Let me just kind of enumerate everything. So size 6'8", 270,
That's a big
40,
boy.
4'6", bench, I don't know. He's Haitian and he eats oxtail. So everybody that knows that he can bench enough. He had 8
Not sure
sacks
what
last
Oxtail
year.
has to do with that, bro.
Inner strength. Inner
Well,
strength.
you guys only are halfway there. So anyway,
I mean, I eat oxtail,
it's delicious.
So does
Oh,
my
yeah.
mother.
and if you ever want to come out here and you want to have my sister's oxtail and my brother's oxtail, I will show you something completely different.
Look at me. I think it's delicious, but anytime I go to get oxtail anywhere, it's $38. And I say, listen, I just heard you give the guy in front of me oxtail for
Bro.
22.
Bro, I will
Stop.
give you get
discriminating.
oxtail for free.
That's what I'm saying. That sounds like a better deal to me.
Free.
Dude, my sister
But
sister came out here, made oxtail, and my brother just was like, okay, I'm done. I'm not gonna make it no more. Not when she's in town.
Yeah, well, listen, oxtail is delicious, and anybody who hasn't had it, just do it, and you'll be fine.
You just got to do it right, though. You can't
Unless
go to
ketchup-
Wendy's, buy
Unless
nice.
ketchup is hot sauce for you, and if ketchup is hot sauce for you, then just avoid
Don't even
any
bother.
food altogether.
Don't even bother.
But back on track, Dondre Haynes, 8 sacks, second in the division only to Dave Valley in pancakes,
Pancakes.
300 yards receiving, and 4 touchdowns on only 18 receptions. So remember we were talking about some of the stats for some of our guys? He has top wide receiver-esque numbers. If we all, and I think we all would, consider a guy in Eric Shuford a top wide receiver.
Mhm.
He's doing that at the tight end position. He's doing that as the number 1 defensive player on the Renegades. And since his rookie year, and I believe 2018, if you did the stats, somewhere between 94 and 99% of the snaps, he is in the game 100% of the time, because also, unless it's a return on a 3-on-1, he is throwing the ball off or making the tackle for the Renegades as well. And I think when it comes down to it, if you started a fantasy draft with people who knew football, not that the guys in our league don't, but that knew football and watched all of the film on every one of the players in this league, 2 of the 3 guys left in front of him, they might get drafted before Dondre. But right after those guys, there's no reason that you wouldn't consider a guy that can affect the game as a pass rusher, one of the most important spots in the game. A blocker, maybe arguably the most important spot in the game. And as well as a touchdown-making playmaker. Dondre Haynes scored the longest touchdown on a pass play against BIC last season, period. That's a
How long
fact.
was it?
I think it was a 68-yarder.
Wow. You said
And-
he runs 4.640?
4.65. Listen, if you
At his
laser
size?
timed him, when he opens up his strides, it's insane, because he's
Well, yeah,
6'8",
6'8". Jesus.
Yeah, and he's not overweight, so that motherfucker is moving.
So wait. 6'8". What'd you say his weight was? 290?
Listen, I'm going to right now, to the best of my ability.
Uh-huh.
Now, who's got Snapchat? Go on the A7FL Snapchat, go down, find the dude with the dreads who stiff arms a guy so hard that the recoil of the person off the turf was able to bounce back up and somehow trip him up. I mean, we're talking about violence. We're talking about grace.
Sustainable violence.
And we're talking about just an elite level of drive, because he is in every single snap for his team. And he deserves better than what he got in the most recent couple of seasons.
Well, I
Jordan
mean,
Davidson,
you know
find
what?
the video of Dondre Haynes.
Number 4.
Go ahead.
Hold on. I will say this. The fact that you are a player that might be better than the team you're playing on, I got to give him credit for staying with the team that he's playing with. And,
you do.
the fact of the matter is, growing up, playing out here, playing in the flag league the way I played, was much different, because guys did not want to join the super teams, if you will. I'm not calling anybody in the A7 a super team. I'm just saying, for when we played, It was no best on best. Let's go get our guys, and we're gonna f you up. You know, that's the bottom line. I mean, the guys that are in the picture behind me were guys that we started a team with and played. You know, we played together for years, and you know, it's one of those situations where I got to give guys respect that when they are better than the team they're playing on, which we had those guys in the early years, when they're better than the team they're playing on, but they stick with you, those are the guys that you want to keep around. Those are the guys that are cornerstones to your team.
Yeah, and the kind of dedication that he has, and I think that's not it. I'm trying to find it. It's on our reels. It's just hard to find it when you don't have. There you go. No, that's not gonna do it. This is a highlight of him.
Wait, hold on. He was number 4, right?
44.
No. I'm saying he was number 4 on our list.
Yes.
Number 4.
Number 4.
Gotcha.
So that, and listen, I could talk about DeAndre Haynes, no homo, all day, but that is number 4. Number
3.
Number 3 on our list is a guy that I think, in his own mind, I think he believes that he deserves things like MVP and, I don't know, the same type of treatment that Deshaun Watson was getting from certain people for whatever reason. I think, you said it. I was hinting at it. But like I know for a fact that
I don't think Bob heard that, because if Bob heard that, he would have giggled.
See, ask what the All-Pro Jaffos. Ask the All-Pro Jaffos what Corey Hammond calls Deshaun Watson, and Dub and Miz what Corey Hammond calls Deshaun Watson on NFL appearances.
Hold on, Corey. If you're saying number 3 feels he deserves the same kind of attention that Deshaun Watson gets, so you're saying he thinks he deserves happy endings.
Well, what I think he thinks he deserves is more praise, adulation, and rewards, and whatever you want to call what he's looking for. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Listen, I don't know who's passionate about those. I think Dub is passionate because he's the one who put it up. But our
number 3
athlete based on, follow me, 600 yards passing, 1,500 total yards, including rushing and receiving, as well as a 3-on-1 threat, and probably the offensive leader of his team, which was, by the way, undefeated in last season, technically, right?
Before they defunct.
Well, they were also defeated the year before. Undefeated, excuse me.
Now, they lost the year before. Last year, they did not lose a game, technically.
The year before, they didn't lose a game either until the playoffs.
Yeah, but even in the playoffs this year, they're the only team that didn't officially lose a game at the end of regulation.
They officially win a game.
Well, they won, I think, 9 of them specifically. But the quarterback, wide receiver, playmaker for the now rest their swag, because they had some of the best swag, the flag and then the helmet and then all the bullshit that went with it. Shout outs to Brent Smothers. The Sin City, Real Sin City, Chaos, Keno Thomas.
Did you just say Real Sin City? Get the fuck off of here.
With a C. With
You're
a
done.
C.
Bye.
Well, I mean, check the episode. I won. So the
now he's muted. For that, he's muted. He's in timeout for saying the Real Sin City.
Yeah,
He's
but
in timeout.
I can click it too. And
I can keep clicking it too. You're in timeout.
You have only yourself to blame. You were the one
Whatever.
set to defend Sin City with an S.
Whatever.
And somehow my swarmy ass won.
He is part of the chaos, and we'll just leave it at that.
I'll ask you guys this honest thing. Keno Thomas, is he an MVP of this league?
I think that when you say the definition of a real MVP, I would say he's got to be in the conversation. How about that?
Fair.
I think and all bullshit aside, I really do think that because of what he brings to the team, and I think that when you remove him off the team, the team's not as good. And that's what you and I have talked about ad
Last
nauseam,
year.
right? Yes,
And in
last year.
2023, last year, that is true.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I
Yes.
will say this: Seth Kozak, their backup quarterback, who threw him all of those receiving yards that he had, and I think it was
Yes.
somewhere around 450.
Yes.
Their backup
was.
quarterback was A, more traditional, and
hold on,
B,
hold on.
was a good guy to stand
Let me ask
in
you
that
this.
division for sure.
But Corey, let me ask you this. If Keno was not on the team and he wasn't throwing the ball to him, who else would he be throwing the ball to?
I mean, there's guys that now no longer will be in the league because of different transgressions, and I think.
But do you see where I'm going? Do you see
No,
what I'm saying? I truly believe that Keno is one of those guys that could be mentioned in the league because of who he plays for. He could be mentioned as a MVP because of what he brings to the team and what his abilities allow him to do, not just at quarterback, but obviously at wide receiver as well. Because my thought on this is he wouldn't be on our list if it wasn't the case.
And he's number 3.
Exactly. So he wouldn't be as high as he is if he was not part of that, what I would consider a very important piece to chaos. So when I look back at this, I can honestly say, yes, I think that he could be mentioned. I'm not saying he is. I'm saying he could be mentioned as an MVP.
Well, and what I said, and this is because I had a direct conversation with him via Facebook posts and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Ohio guys are actually famous at this point for going to social media and asking people who have not watched one game of A7FL action to vote for them for awards as a popularity contest, and then throw temper tantrums, just to be clear, that they weren't chosen for the award because they had more people that actually voted for them, even though the people that voted for them had never seen those players that they voted for in A7FL action. That being said, I think, well, let me go and then you go.
No, go ahead.
I do it all the time. It's only fair. I'll say this. I would say, and I think that, and this is why I started off by introducing him as somebody that wants more admiration and accolades or whatever. What's up, Gaither? What's up, Ron Gaither? That's one of Rob Fabian's favorite Vegas guys, Ron Gaither.
Just real quick. Gaither, how did the operation go? Give us a heads up. Anyway, go ahead, Corey.
I think he's the MVP, Keno Thomas, of the Ohio division. And I think he's the back-to-back MVP in that division.
Yeah,
now,
without a shadow of a doubt.
Is he anywhere near as important to his team as MVP candidates in our league? Absolutely. I think he might even be, as your point was, maybe even more important than some of the guys, because some of the guys that I think are considered ahead of him, maybe even including the actual winner of the award, they have better teams around them.
Yes.
But I'll ask you this. When Keno Thomas, a more of a playmaking, we're in the athlete section, if he was being recruited as a quarterback based on his A7FL career, he would not be a pocket QB, a traditional QB. He would be an ATH QB. When he was up against, and by the way, he has a decent offensive line. I've seen his offensive line block, especially Jonathan Clark. Maybe he'll be mentioned in the offensive line episode coming up soon on the other side of the ball. They have a pretty good offensive line. Going up against the Insomniacs last year head-to-head in a full playoff game against another division. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see that this year. How would you rate his athleticism based on the defensive line guys that were chasing him last year?
First off, let me just say one thing. Gaither, good to hear. And I'm glad that you're healing up, man. And I'm very happy that physical training begins Friday. So that is fantastic. Corey, to answer your question, I think that Keno was, because we also had him in the combine, and most people forget about that at our 2023 championship. I had to think about that. Sorry. I'm old. I forget.
It's about to be 2025. It's getting crazy at this point.
Crazy. But overall, what I would tell you is this. and that is that I think Keno did show some of his athleticism, but I also think that there was some very athletic defensive players on the Insomniacs chasing him down. I remember the very first hit that AJ put on him. The only thing that went through my mind, because I'm sitting on the sidelines, mind you. I'm probably 30 feet from that tackle, and I heard the thud, and I saw him bounce, and I'm just like, please get up, because if he's down, this is not going to be a game at all. And I watched him lay there for a second and then get back up, and I will say that his athleticism was impressive, especially knowing the guys that were chasing him around. It was an impressive display, and even having him at the combine was an impressive display too. He is a great kid, very humble, but speaks his mind, and I have no problem with that. I think that having him at number 3 on this list is not a what I would consider. Some people might look at that and go, "Oh, well, he's not as that's too high for him." I disagree. I think that he is right where he belongs. I think that the 2 gentlemen that are above him are exactly where they should be. I think that Keno is definitely one of the athletic players in this league. I think that when we're talking about it, because he plays wide receiver, because he plays quarterback, I think he's right where he should be. Do I think that there's better players? Hold on. Do I think there's better players than him at quarterback and at wide receiver? Yes. But because of his athleticism, right where he should be.
And if you're saying that people were saying he's too high, I think that's probably because they might not be as familiar with his total body of work, because when you watch his total body of work against the Ohio division specifically, the chaos offense, especially last year, 2 years ago, not this past season, which kind of it evolved a little bit to be a little bit more diverse. But the year before, it basically was to the extent of, hey, drop back, wait, run back and forth, beat all of the FedEx workers and Amazon delivery drivers, because they're just not good enough to chase you down. When he actually faced a defense with athletes similar in ability to him, not even a good player in some people's opinions. Now, I think that's a little bit maybe too far, because a lot of times when you face a defense like the Insomniacs defense, it will humble even the best of players. But I think my point originally is that putting him 3 on a generic athlete list, based on some of the things that he said, he might consider a slight, which is ridiculous considering the fact that he looks like he is trash in that Insomniacs film. He's not able to run. He's not able to throw accurately. He's not able to do anything offensively for his team that was counting on him. And until the Insomniacs basically fumbled the ball 4 times to them to give them a chance, it wasn't even a game that was even watchable at times. And Insomniacs showed up playing sloppy in Ohio.
If you want to play it that way, and this is going to make it sound even worse. When you want to play it that way, the Chaos got a first down in the first half only by defensive penalties. Outside of that, they never got a first down in the first half of the game. So I get what you're saying.
If you want to be the MVP of the league, you need to be a player that is valuable to your team.
Agreed.
When you're not playing garbage fucking Ohio teams. No disrespect to Ohio. All disrespect to Ohio.
Eventually, reality will slap you in the face by saying that's why you're number 3 on this list. And
that's great. He's better than Dondre Haynes and Lavish T. So if you're bitching about number 3, then just get the fuck out of our league and play 37U and get all the accolades from that type of league.
Agreed.
Number
but
2.
Like I said, I thought he was more of a humble player.
Listen, he's a great player.
Yeah, he is. But that was number 3. Now we move on to number 2.
All right, so let's do this. Because if you're an astute watcher of this league and you've been watching the rest of our lists, you might assume who these next 2 guys are. Chris, I'll put it in your corner. This is kind of like
Yeah.
your home field.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sitting over here a couple time zones away.
Yeah.
Somehow talking twice, even though Dub's muted. Whatever, we'll figure it out.
Well, no, he told me he doesn't want
No,
to
his you know,
smoke alarms going off. He doesn't want that beeping in our ear.
yeah, that one half of Charlie Batch is showing its true colors, and I do mean
Right.
that specifically.
Smoking.
I'm going to let you decide. Now, I'm not going to reveal yet, but do you want to do number 1 and number 2 at the same time and let the conversation decide who's number 1 and number 2, or do you want to go, or do you feel comfortable with the way that they're listed now? Because these next two, I think that fuck your stats at this point. This is how it's got to be, right?
Right.
B,
I agree with you.
I think you ask 100 different educated film watchers in our league, you might get close to a 50-50 split on which guy is actually
I agree with you there too.
whatever, right?
Yeah,
So do you want to just do both of them now? Go ahead.
No. Let's do them as they're listed. Let's do them as they're listed. And if anybody has an argument, go ahead and post it in the comments. But let's do it as they're listed.
Number 2.
Now, putting this guy at number 2 on any list seems kind of fucking crazy, right? When you really think about what the definition of ATH is, especially when it relates to the A7FL, and especially as it relates to 2024. Now, I think this player in a different season with more opportunities at statistics that are taken by a reliable source, aka Cole Gardella, and not whoever's taking Munchie's stats in Vegas.
Yeah, where he is.
And if it's Peanut, my bad, because if you're still watching Peanut, you're my guy.
Yeah, might be different.
Logo Davis, Darius Davis, the logo from the Tampa Bay Nightcrawlers, is our number 2 player.
Dude, you did not have it that way. You had Bagway number 2.
Oh, go look. I definitely have it as this guy is number 2.
Go look at it.
No, you're not. Because I'm looking at it literally.
Oh, my bad. Damn it, my bad.
But that's the thing.
Maybe I'm wrong.
That's the thing. You broke the kayfabe. Whatever.
Yep.
Okay. I think
God damn it.
I think that specifically speaks to the point we're making. And James is like number 2.
Yes.
You ask Mike Tice. I think Mike Tice would agree with the way that we have it listed. But the ways in which Logo Davis affects the game are innumerable. Because even when he starts with the ball at the quarterback position, the reason he's doing it is because he's the number 1 target for the guy who will end up throwing it, because of the flag style that the Tampa Bay Nightcrawlers kind of introduced even before we got the Insomniac stuff, because we're talking about when the Force were the number 1 team in the division. They were more of a traditional, Coach McKeith and Smith, type of team. So they weren't even doing the flag stuff. The Nightcrawlers have been doing it since their inception in the league with the current roster that they have. And by the way, Bagway showed up that first year after they were like 1-3, and then they blew every team out by like 60. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but we get it. But Logo Davis, we've seen him play every major position other than offensive line to a level that would dictate him being included in the top 7 list based just upon talent at those positions. I don't think there's a better go-to wide receiver if you're really just breaking it down, other than maybe Darren Palmer, because of, listen, Darren Palmer has a UNLV Division I pedigree and plays the position every single game in, game out in a style that I think we would all agree is a little bit less flag, more traditional 11-on-11 padded football.
I would say I would give you this. I would say that the guys that I would have on my squad that are go-to wide receivers in no specific order would be Logo, Darren Palmer, and Munchie.
Right. And
No
those are, listen, if anybody at playing quarterback is throwing open guys there. Now, if you can't throw a spiral and you can't locate, good luck. But those guys are always getting open. Here's the thing. You picked them for your wide receivers for the team in just now. We did an episode, How Do You Stop the Insomniacs? You fucking picked him too for a defensive position. So when it comes to the definition of what we're talking about here,
I
we
don't think
mentioned
you
Logo
can do-
Davis. We mentioned
have to.
the Bradley guy. Logo is one of them.
Look.
And
The-
according to what we said, go ahead.
Have you interviewed Logo?
Specifically, I interviewed that weekend Munchie, and Logo
But
was talking to Rob. I've spoken to him. I didn't interview. It wasn't me that interviewed him.
Okay.
I
So
interviewed Munchie, which was a whole
we
other
had
experience.
we had the opportunity to speak to Logo, and this young man he had his son with him, and they had just finished up practice.
Yeah.
He was still on the football field. Tell you everything you need to know right
Yeah,
there. This guy lives and breathes football. And if there was a player that is and how can I put it, for a guy that has played wide receiver my whole life and getting ready to coach wide receivers, the one thing that I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt with this young man is how impressed I was with not just the player, but how impressed I was with the person.
Yeah.
He is one of the good dudes in this league. And I got to say it because I've also had a chance to speak with Bagway, and those two gentlemen, as good as they are very, very humble.
Yes,
They are not
extremely.
full of themselves. You will not have them quote things outside of their what they are. And you're talking about two gentlemen that when the Insomniacs won the championship against them, stayed out on the field to congratulate the Insomniacs and take in what was going on and talk to us afterwards with the most humble people that you'll ever meet. These guys, I am so impressed with both of them that it is, when I saw Bagway catch the touchdown and run into the stands, and I started thinking, damn, if he's injured, hey, that helps.
That was Logo. That was Logo.
Yes. Did I say Bagway?
You said Bagway. In a lot of ways, they're a little bit interchangeable. But keep going.
Yeah, but when I saw him run into the stands and hurt his leg, I was worried about that. But what I was worried about even more is when he had the almost pick on the sidelines and knocked himself out.
That was insane.
You look at those plays and you look at the people and you realize afterwards, I was like, he almost had the pick, but damn, he almost knocked himself out. Let's go see if he's okay. But then when you realize what kind of person he is afterwards, you're like, oh shit. Okay, I really should have been over there with him quicker, because you want to make sure that these guys, because of what good people they are, you want to make sure they're all right. You kind of push to the side, the competition that you have going on the sideline on the game at the time, and you start to worry about them as people. And man, I'll tell you what, Logo is one of the good people in this league, and all I can say is, to have him on here, he's where he belongs.
And I think, in a word, to define that aspect of his personality, because there's almost not enough, praise that we could throw his way for the way that he plays the game. Yes. But in direct contrast to guys from the Ohio division that cry that they don't get enough attention, or go straight to social media so that they can try to win a popularity contest based on the votes.
Logo will never do that.
Logo and Bagway specifically ask for other guys to be given the attention. Yes. They are, and I think the way that we are just going to describe that for some of the younger guys watching, and maybe learning, maybe this is something that you could learn from.
Dude,
he's a professional.
Yeah,
he's a professional. 100%. When he shows up to the flag tournaments that he does it because it's a business and he's making money. That's why he's calm. That's why he's cool. That's why nothing really gets to him, and he's able to summon that elite athleticism as well as make really intelligent plays and inventive ingenuity type plays on the football field in a form of football that is still yet to be solidly defined. These two guys are amorphous, just supreme
Corey,
beings
Corey,
doing whatever they
without
want
saying,
in any version of football, especially
I
in the
agree,
A7FL.
but it goes without saying, if Logo was about, I would say if he was about 6'2", he'd be playing professional. There's no doubt in my mind.
I mean, to be fair, he is a guy that makes enough money that this could be his job. A, B, he's one of the number one flag players ranked in the league behind the
And I
guy
agree
on
with
this
that.
list.
But what I'm saying is,
And
this,
he was
this
in that
gentleman-
pro flag league.
Yes, but this is a gentleman that, in my eyes, if he was taller, and I think that this doesn't do him justice. If he was taller, he would be playing in the pros, and I don't have any doubt in my mind about that. His routes, his get off, the stuff that he does in the game would let me know that you're right. He definitely is a pro player. Now, granted, it's not NFL pro. He is a player in the flag league. He's a pro player in a lot of aspects. And I think that if he was a little bit taller, you and I wouldn't be having this conversation because he would be playing in the NFL.
Well, if he had a more traditional football route, I don't doubt that even at the existing height that he is, he could find one position or another.
I think you're right.
With the Division I weight training and nutrition program, with the attention that you would get maybe even from a 1AA or even 2 or 3 school. I don't know his specific route, and we have had longer conversations. Like I talked with Darius and spoken to him as Darius, and I think the reason that he's not necessarily like going for the NFL, make the practice team type of route is because he's such a good guy that he's involved with his kids' lives.
Oh, big
right?
time.
And that might be the explanation. Other than look, add the size to a lot of guys, and you can get guys like David Clark. I think Darius Davis plays in the NFL at some position if he was just found in the right situation. I
disagree with you. I mean,
and that's why it's hard to even put him at.
Yeah, his athletic prowess is second to none, and I think he showed that playing the Insomniacs. Not a knock. He had 5 touchdowns. Let that sink in for a minute.
He had 5 walk-in touchdowns.
Exactly.
That couldn't have been easier.
What I'm saying is that when you think about something like that, it tells you everything you need to know, because he is a straight athlete that knows how to play the game.
We just mentioned a guy at number 3 that couldn't have any success against the exact same defense that Darius Logo Davis had, to the extent in which you said 5 touchdowns.
Yeah,
and it could have potentially been more if he didn't get injured, potentially, right?
Right.
I mean, that's insane.
That's the type of athleticism we're talking about within these 7 names. And when you think about it,
no, we're not, because not all these 7 names are anywhere near number 1 and number 2.
Logo is number 2.
Number 2.
Which means that the number 1 for this list is Mike Tyson's favorite A7FL player maybe of all time. And that's not Mike Tyson, who definitely was pulling punches against that snarky YouTube idiot that almost deserves to get punched in the face as much as I do.
Football player.
Listen,
player.
He was not. So it's not Mike Tyson who made $20 million allowing Jake Paul to live and breathe another day. It's Mike Tice, the former Minnesota Vikings coach, and who was in charge of that combine.
And don't forget, NFL tight end.
That's quarterback at the University of Maryland, as tall as that fucking guy was. Mark Bagway should be playing in the NFL, and full stop. All the things that we say about Logo, Mark Bagway is a little bit faster, throws a little bit more accurately, is 6'4"?
No.
Yeah, he's pretty damn tall.
No.
All right, whatever.
No.
6 what then?
I would give him 6'1".
No way.
Dude, I'm
No
6
way.
foot. He's barely taller than I am.
All right, well, fine.
I will give you this. He looks much taller.
Somebody
Hold on,
find
hold
his
on, hold on,
somebody find his
hold on.
height for us.
He looks much taller when you see him. And when I walked over to him to congratulate him and to thank him, I was very shocked that he wasn't towering over me.
Yeah, I mean, when he covered Davitt Clark, it looked like they were approximately the same size. And I stood next to him. I felt like he was relatively tall compared to me, and I'm 6 foot. So, but the point is that for all of the things that we say about Logo, the only thing Logo I think has done is show the effort in his athleticism. Because when you watch Mark Bagway, it's effortless.
Dude,
He's
that
laughing
dude,
as he's making
does.
people look ridiculous.
Yes, and the things
that's
that he
a whole
does,
nother
and
level
the
of
way
athleticism.
he makes people miss him is almost where you're like looking at him going, did you seriously just do that shit? And he just kind of laughs it off.
And where Logo has to jump that 41-inch vertical, one-handed, backhanded interception right on the sideline, right?
Yeah.
Mark Bagway seems like he's just coasting, chilling back there.
Yeah.
Makes the
like
same defensive lineman that completely contained and absolutely negated any effect that our number 3 guy had. Mark Bagway made those same defensive players look like they weren't capable of stopping him at times in that championship game. And then you even look at last year, which is kind of the conversation that we're having is the athletes of last year.
Yep.
The Snow Tribe guys. Yeah, you said, because you're a good person, said that you wish that guys like this, that they no, the Snow Tribe guys were wishing every single hex upon both of these guys, because as soon as they walked on the field with cleats on and were able to breathe oxygen and convert oxygen and sugar into energy, Snow Tribe lost that game before they even took the trip down to Baltimore to face them. The only reason, in my opinion, that the U advanced in the playoffs, the mighty U, is because Mark Bagway and Logo Davis were not there to play against them. Now, that was the biggest robbery maybe of all season last year, was not being able to see those guys line up against the U.
Dude.
But in our top seven athletes,
hold on. Here's
2 minutes.
When you're talking about Bagway and Logo, and you're talking about the Nightcrawlers, BG has talked to me about it, and that was probably the biggest loss that they had, was those 2 players in that playoff game. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you they would have won the game. We don't know. We have no idea. But would it have been a different outcome? Very possibly. Because I don't know that the U has the athletes to stand up against Bagway and Logo.
What team does? Because even at times the Insomniacs, who had Danye Lyons, Davitt Clark, RTC, he's there this year. Zelly, Smooth is nice.
Yes, but it tells you everything you need to know right there. These guys are for real. And when you have a full Nightcrawler squad that include Bagway and Logo, there's a reason why they're number 1 and number 2 on this athleticism list. There's a reason why these guys are doing what they're doing. And the thing about it is, both of these gentlemen, and I'm friends with Bagway on Facebook, he is very humble. And when you listen or see what he posts online, very humble young man. And I give both of them credit. And I really, outside of our division, these 2 guys are 2 young men that I really like to follow because of what they're able to do, what they're capable of doing, but even more, how much credence they give to their families and how much they're involved with their families.
And you know what's crazy is you can tell how elite a football player is by the amount of times they post highlights to their social media feeds. And by that, I mean, have you ever seen Mark Bagway post highlights of himself on social media?
Now that you say that, I'm like, you know what? I don't think I've ever seen him post himself.
Because it's so fucking easy for a guy like Bagway. He does it in his sleep. He doesn't need to Keno Thomas, other guys on this list, guys that didn't make this list that are right now posting Jordan Davidson, for instance. They're one or two good plays from last season.
You mean Cam?
That's right. But when we go government, we can go government still. But that's my guy Cam. And that's not from even last year. That unfortunately he moved out to Vegas and got cut twice before the season started. That's also a record. Now, Jordan Davidson sets as many records as David Tender did, losing 2 playoff games in one season. But fans, Coach James, that is our list. So starting at number 7, Mitchell Octane. Enough mention from me. He made the list. Number 6, Ramsey from OTT, which is an interesting team. I think we should have a segment in one of these later shows to talk about them, because they're the biggest boom, worst bust type of team in the A7FL, and they're an interesting conversation, especially when it comes to the quarterback position. But Ramsey, kind of the definition of these guys. Number 6 on our list. Number 5 is Tierre Edwards Lavish T. Number 4 is Dondre Megatron Haynes from the East Orange Renegades. Number 3 is Keno Thomas from the Real City Chaos. Number 2 and number 1 are up to you, the fans. So the way that we listed it just generically is Logo Davis, Mark Bagway. Even on the panel, I think we might disagree.
We could even reverse that.
Well, that's the thing. So fans, in the comments, you decide our number 1 and number 2. We will check up on you later. We also want to hear who we missed. We mentioned Trey Robinson. We mentioned Trey Cohen. There's a lot of guys that it's hard to fit in a box. I'm surprised Dub didn't talk about Iquan Corsi from the Pit Bosses. But Dub,
I would have if some jackass didn't pull the doggone fire alarm.
Yeah, well, listen.
To which my apologies. That's why I was not on the air.
It was popcorn. It's always popcorn.
For a good 35
it's
minutes.
Always popcorn. So our athlete list is right in front of you. Mitchell, Ramsey, Lavish, Dondre, Keno, Logo, Bagway. A lot of those guys need only one name mentioned. Now Keno is a rare name, but we also have to say Keno Thomas because a lot of people still haven't heard of him, and he still wants more. No, I've been trashing on him too much. So
you got to be careful when you say Keno in Vegas. So just saying. Right,
that's a different thing. So that's our athlete list. Now a little.
And there's a story
I'll let Dub take us out.
And Coach Tyson, his wife, but that's a whole nother story too.
Nice. Hey, that's for the Patreon episode.
If you haven't heard that story, it is friggin' hilarious.
Listen, make people subscribe to get that kind of shit. Anyway,
it's actually pretty funny.
Let's go down the list of division. I mean position groupings we have left, guys.
Well, we
have running backs.
We got running backs
and D backs. So if you haven't heard your guy yet, continue to tune into the other side of the ball. This was our athlete list. And once we finished running backs, linemen, and DBs, we will start our official countdown of the top 50 players, according to other side of the ball, of 2024. So we're getting there, guys.
And where are we going next week?
I don't know. We'll leave it up to the fans. So tell us in the comments, do you want running backs? Do you want offensive linemen because it is cold? Listen, it's got to be offensive linemen. Next week is Thanksgiving week, baby. We got to give the big boys some turkey.
So what are you saying? Thick boy season?
It's Thanksgiving week has to be the big fucking fat guys. Period.
Okay.
End of story.
Thick boy season it is.
Tell us in the comments if we're wrong. No.
Hey. Can't say fat boys. It's thick boy.
It's PH.
Thick boys.
When I
or a lot of manliness.
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll see how far Kenny Mack falls from number 1 because that'll piss him off. because everything does. So tune in next week to Other Side of the Ball, and maybe you too can hate Corey Hammond. Dub, take us the fuck out.
Before we do, one more reminder about the Winter War coming up in January 2025.
Oh, and listen to the guy at the end.
Winter is coming.
And he can make something magical happen here. And there goes the ball. It's going. It's going. You're a fan.
Battles will be won.
Hold on now.
At the 30, and he
Who's going to take victory?
and that's why championship points matter.
It's time for war.
Now, again, if you want to sign up and participate in the Winter War in January of 2025, the QR code that you see on your screen, please click that. It will take you to a7flnevada.com to where you can register and get all the information you need on how and if you want to participate in the upcoming Winter War, replacing the Fall Brawl title, coming to you again January 2025. And again,
I put
coming to you
my
on-
name in for free agency, and my wife took it out, so I won't be able to play. Sorry.
And that's fair. And if you still haven't yet signed up, don't then. You're too soft. And I'm talking to you, whoever that is. And it's not Chris, because Chris did sign up. So you're too scared to do the QR code. You're too scared to even go to the site and sign yourself up. So if you want to prove me wrong again, do what I just said you couldn't. Yeah, that was a blowout, guys. I don't even know why New Jersey was even in the championship at that point. Such a blowout victory by
Hey,
Vegas
Corey,
over the NJ team.
Corey.
I don't even remember what team it was.
The blowout statement is really endearing yourself to the people in Vegas that you keep saying that you're a proponent for. But just letting you know. Anyway,
Well, hate apparently is what this country is looking for. That's why we voted a certain way a couple weeks ago, right, James?
okay.
So anyway,
Anyway.
for some thick boy talk. Go
big
ahead,
boy
Dub.
season.
for Corey.
So
for-
I've got a couple guys in mind. We'll put it all together because I think that we could actually come up very easily with 10, and we're going to have to whittle them down to 7.
We're not going to whittle their bodies down, though. Keep them exactly the way they are. We're not shaming these guys' bodies.
Body ain't being whittled down. It's just the count. It's
No
being whittled down.
no Ozempic for our friends next week.
So we pay homage to the big man with football next week on episode 113. For Corey, for Chris, I'm Double A. But once again, prayers and thoughts to the family of Jordan Ash, and prayers and thoughts to the family of Robert Paul, aka Bobby Solis, as we lost 2 family members of the A7FL family tree. So again, prayers and well wishes to both those families, friends, and teammates. But hopefully you will join us on Thanksgiving Eve, since it will be the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, as we celebrate the big men that protect the blind side of the quarterback and create holes for the running backs. On
And since it's the
offensive line.
eve before Thanksgiving, I am not responsible for how I drink that night. I'm just saying.
Stay hydrated.
Mazel tov.
Yeah.
Anyhow, for Corey, for Chris, I am done. We will see you
That's not what you're going to be drinking.
on the other side of the ball.
Hasta la pasta.
You guys take care of yourself and each other.